everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and this week's video, you're probably thinking this is odd because I'm speaking in English, but the reason I'm doing that is because of the subject of the video today. It's something that you asked me before to do it. It's about moving to the UK. So I figured, well, let's do that in English so you can get a more in-depth experience of all this. But don't you worry, I'm going to put some subtitles on it. So all you have to do is just hit the CC icon on the right below, really close to where you have the like button and the subscribe and the bell notifications icon. So you see this CC, you just hit it and subtitles will pop up so you can follow everything I'm gonna talk about here with no problem, or you can just listen to me speaking and try to figure out. And also there's a good thing that I'm speaking in English, because you can see I don't speak perfect English. I think I get along pretty well. I can do everything I have to do in English, but I know it's not perfect. So it also means that you don't have to have a perfect English to live here. I'd also like to mention the fact that I speak English with not a British accent. I speak with more like an American accent, or I should say Brazilian accent. But there's many different accents here in England, and some of them are very hard to understand. This is just a minor detail, and what I do like to do here is talk about bigger issues, also some of the smaller ones. So without further ado, let's just get into the video, and I'll be right back after this brief message. See ya. There are a lot of different things. I'm gonna try to get you the general idea of the pros and cons, and between those two, even more things that you have to adapt, because it's really a different country with a different weather, a different language, different habits, a different way of working things out. So I'll start with the bigger things, and then I'll move on to the smaller ones, the more day-to-day stuff. That stuff also makes a big difference for us. You have to start planning what you're gonna bring. Since we came to stay for 2 years, we decided to bring some stuff, and of course I have to bring a lot of my equipment. So I brought a lot of my guitars, some hard drive stuff, my pre's, my studio monitors. So the moving have to come by ship. There's a lot of planning involved. Some of it only works in 110, which is the voltage in Brazil, but here in England the voltage is 220. For most of the more modern appliances like computers, iPads, cell phones and all that stuff, they can be charged either way, 110 or 220 volt. That's no problem. But my Fender Blues Junior amp, it cannot. It only runs on 110. Also my studio monitor only works in 110. So I have to buy a voltage converter. And that's something I talked about on my previous video about setting up the new studio. You better check it out if you're interested in more detail about that stuff, because over here I'm going to take a look at other issues, but it's worth mentioning it because you have to plan it beforehand to see what is worth bringing with you, what is really essential to bring with you. If it's something that won't work with this voltage here, you have to have this voltage converter. Also a lot of documentation. So first thing I'd like to talk about is kind of the legal stuff. You have to deal with the settlement agreement that you have to do, the proper rights to live and work in the UK. So I have my permit, I'm good for the next 5 years. That also allows me to be registered at the NHS, that is their national health system. That allows me to get free medical consultations. So okay, I'll take you around for a look at the city as I explain some of the bigger stuff for you. Well, where should I begin? First things first, right? So, first of all, I think that every time that you move, any kind of move from a different house, different city, and of course a different country, there's always a lot of things you have to adapt. Of course, moving to a different country is the biggest one, but besides that, the fact that I was born and raised in a big city, Rio de Janeiro, and now I'm living in a much smaller city. This city has the population of Copacabana, which is a neighborhood in Rio de Janeiro. It's 70,000 people. With that in mind, I think that many of the things I'll mention here about the life here, you have to take that in consideration as well. So in many aspects, like the people being very friendly and polite, but then again, they're British and traditionally very polite. There's a lot of important differences. Some of them are frequently mentioned and some are not. For instance, the side of the road. As you can see, over here, cars drive in the left side of the road, unlike in Brazil and I think most of the countries in the world where they drive on the right. So
This is frequently talked about, but I don't think that's a big issue, really. You have to pay close attention not to get hit by a car. But once you start living here, in a couple of weeks, you're already used to it, so it's no big deal. Right now, it's the 1st of November, beginning of autumn. The weather is really changing now. It's getting colder, and you get colder and colder until high winter, probably snow. That's another thing you have to adapt. We're humans. I think we're pretty adaptable. There's a lot of this little back alleys. That's a good thing. And also, there's a lot of biking. Bikers are very well respected in traffic. Cars and buses and trucks, they keep like a very, very safe distance. But also, the bikers have to respect a lot of laws. So I was once riding my bike on the wrong side of the street, and I get hassled by this other biker. Crossed by me and said, "Wrong side!" Of course I was wrong. I correct myself. The rules apply for everyone, you know. Another thing that's worth mentioning is the currency. First of all, for someone like myself that is living here but actually still working in Brazil, it's pretty expensive. Of course, it's almost 8 reais right now, the pound. So everything I earn, I got to split in almost 8 parts. If I want to get a beer, and the beer is like 2 pounds, that means almost 16 reais for every beer. So if you like to have a positive view on it, you drink less. There are lots of places like this really close by. See how beautiful this is? A very common knowledge. The English garden, you know, that's not really an English garden, of course. This is just some grass. And there's a lot of open spaces like this. You can bring your kid, you can practice some sports. So also about the currency, with the coins, they all come in different sizes that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. Sometimes a smaller value is a bigger coin, and they're all different shapes and colors, so it's really confusing. And then again, in the upper side of the scale, people here, most of them, like 99% of everyone that I met, are very honest. So if you're going to a market, a supermarket, a store or whatever, and you want to pay cash, I just take whatever coins they gave me and put it in my pocket. I don't even check it. And sometimes if I have to give them some change, I just open my wallet, pick out all the coins I have, and I hand them to them and say, okay, pick whatever you need. And you can trust them, you know, they're really honest. And of course, once again, I think you have to have in count that this is a small city. So things are probably different in London, in a bigger city. I have a short story to illustrate my point about the honesty of people. Like in the 2nd month I was living here, I went to get something in the hardware store with my bike, came back home beginning of 2021, so I was not actually leaving the house that much, so I just take off my coat and I get back to whatever I have to do. So the next day, mind you, this woman comes to the door carrying my wallet and asking, does that belong to you? I think someone dropped it. And there was everything in it, all of it, my money, my credit card. That was really mind-blowing, you know? For me, from a guy who came from Rio de Janeiro, that's unprecedented. That is really one of the main shocking differences, I think. This thing about how society is built over here, you have to pay very high taxes, as everyone knows, I think, already. But you get a chunk of it in return, in the forms that you have public health for free. Actually not for free, as I said, you paid it with your taxes, but you know, it's different from a good public health that we also pay in Brazil, as well as good public school. Hi, mailman. Over here, even if you're wealthy, it's more likely that you put your kids in a public school. Actually, they don't call it public school here. The schools that are named public schools, they are paid. It's a bit confusing, but I'm not getting into that right now. So you got that in return. As you can see, most of the population has access to good education. And this, over the years, over the decades, over the generations, make a big difference in how society is built. See what I mean? Also, there's this thing that you can drink the water straight out of the tap. I think I mentioned before, the water here is very high on calcium, so you can't drink it, but it's wiser if you filter it before. Otherwise, you can get, you know, kidney problems and stuff like that. There's a lot of paintings throughout the city. So you get public health, public schools, drinkable water. I'm not sure how the system works for the more unprivileged, but I don't think anyone's starving here. So the reason I'm mentioning it is that it also makes a big difference in other aspects of life here. That is that you're very close and you have access to a wide range of wildlife. You go to a park and there's deer, there's duck, there's goose, squirrels, all sorts of wild animals. And you don't even have to go to a distant park. Like right here, I'm in the city, as you can see, I'm in downtown. That's the center of the city, but really close by, just like a few blocks away, there's this canal. And you go to the canal and there's goose, there's ducks, and they're very friendly. I can even begin to imagine this would be in a different country where people are starving because those animals, they'll be eaten. Of course, people have to survive. Also, there's another little twist in this thing is the fact that although those are supposedly wild animals, they have an owner, you know? All wildlife here in England belongs to the Queen. If you by any chance got caught stealing or harming or doing whatever to one of those animals, you're committing a crime against the crown. That's not good for you, you know? I don't know if you're aware of this, but England is, I think, one of the more surveilled in the world. There's like cameras everywhere. So don't think Big Brother isn't watching you. This is like a regular city street, houses, community center, yes, library, and really close by. There's this beautiful little park with, you guessed it, some wildlife. Ducks. Oh, there's a Japanese duck. It's a beautiful one. As I learned, that duck is a bit feisty. I think he bullies the other ducks. But you see how close I am to the ducks? They don't mind. They know I won't harm them. The fact that today it's still kind of a good weather, you know? So, this is downtown. That's the busiest part of the city. See what I mean? And this is the town square. Like it? So now that we dealt with the bigger issues, let's talk a little bit about the smaller ones, the day-to-day life issues. Maybe they're even more important than the other ones. Let's see. So here is the land of the do-it-yourself. So what that really means is that not only the day-to-day house stuff like cooking and cleaning, you have to do it yourself, but also most of the houses here has a backyard like ours. That's a good thing, it's a beautiful thing, but you have to take care of it as well. So you have to cut the grass, trim the plants and all that stuff. So that's a little bit of extra work. Also, all the furniture in the house, you have to assemble yourself. Everything you see here, all the closets, shelves, tables, beds, everything I assembled myself. That's the way it goes here. You can have people to do that. For instance, the curtain, I wasn't able to do it, so I hired a guy. So there's people who do that kind of stuff as well, of course, but they're expensive work. So keep that in mind. It's do it yourself all the way. And for some of the weirdest stuff, I'm gonna show you some stuff that really bugs me. There's this thing, most houses, old houses, so the faucets, as you can see, there's two of them. And of course, for each one, there's a different temperature for the water. But the thing is, there's only just two temperatures. That's iceberg and lava. Throughout the year, it's okay. You can go along with only the cold water and you'll be fine. But when the weather changes, and it's changing right now, we're autumn, and believe me, winter is coming.
I know this is hard for you, but winter is coming.
You have to use the hot water, but it's really way too hot to deal with. And you can't mix it because they're separate faucets. That makes no sense. And then one can imagine, wow, how can we have the same faucet like in Brazil and not have them here? Sometimes we do. So take a look. This is the bathtub, and you have cold and a hot water, and they all come out from the same place. But believe me, they won't mix. It looks like the pipes are all the way up to here. They should be mixing inside, but they don't. See, if you just open it a little bit, you see the cold one comes from this side. That's the side of the hot water. This is the side of the cold one. You see, that really makes no sense. I don't know. Also, there's another thing. Check it out. This is what they have for shower curtain. What's the sense of this? Because it doesn't cover it all the way. When you stand here and you're taking a bath and you're under the shower, as the water hits your head and your body, it will probably spill outside. Haven't they heard of shower curtains? Well, there's this safety procedures, so you cannot, by law, have a power outlet inside of the bathroom. At first, it looks like a smart thing to do, but if you use an electric razor blade or an electric toothbrush like myself, you have to charge it in a power outlet in a different room, like I do. Another thing that was really surprising for me, when we first got here, we have a leaking problem with this faucet here, and we have to cut it. The water just keeps running, and we have to shut it down. So we started looking all around the house to see where the register is, and we couldn't find it. So we looked all up on the walls like we think it is. We found it. It's this really little thing here. But the thing is, the tricky part is that it shuts the water for the whole house. You don't have like separate registers for separate parts of the house like we normally have in Brazil. That makes no sense. Another thing that's a good thing about the electric here, oh, this thing is amazing. I wish it comes with 110 so I can bring them back to Brazil. It's an electric kettle. Just, boils the water like really fast if you're making some tea or something. The good thing about the safety measures that they take with the electricity is that they have this thing which turns the power outlet on and off. That's very smart. I wish we had this in Brazil. And also they have USB chargers, because nowadays there are many different kitchen appliances and electronical stuff that comes with just a USB charger. It's very smart to have a USB charger along with the power outlet. I hope that helps you to have a good overview what it is to move to a different country, specifically, of course, the UK, the pros and cons, try to even up things, and that maybe could be helpful, for you to make up your mind. So that's the video for today. Hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch it, and of course, thanking you all for sharing this video and hitting the like button and also the subscribe and all that stuff that, it really matters. So thank you very much, and until next week. Bye. As I was finishing up editing this video, it came to me that there was also a lot of little things, small details about the differences between Brazil and the UK that concern, the lifestyle, the cultural differences. And I think that maybe they're also worth mentioning. But that's all the time we have for today's video. So if you're interested in more of these, cultural differences, please let me know in the comments below if you'd like another video on that same subject, but with some other different perspectives, and we can work this thing out. Until next time, this is me signing off, saying bye-bye and cheers to everyone.